First thing here, remember, I want you to list when we are looking at our time blocking, because if you're not careful, you will have the same excuse as everybody else has. Clay, I just don't have time. Just don't have time to do it. So what we have to do is, right here, number one, list all your recurring activities, the things that have to go on every single day or every single week. For me, it's like I know every single week we're going to be doing a group interview for new employees. I know every single week we're going to do a morning huddle. Okay, we do that every single day. We do a morning huddle before the day begins. At the end of the day, we do a wrap up for the end of the day with each of the employees. I just know that those are going to go on every single day. I know that everybody in my company every single day, they are going to be following their to-do list. That's how we organize and supervise our work, which we'll talk about in the future. So what I've done is I've taken these recurring activities and I make sure that those happen at a very specific time, whether they are daily activities or, make that a B, whether they are weekly activities. You can even push this out to monthly or quarterly or annual activities. Just go ahead and get those on the calendar. They're going to occur at this time every single day or every single week. How long is it going to take? This is really important. How many minutes, how many hours is it going to take to do each of those activities? Number three, once we have how long, then we're going to block the actual time each day or each week. And then finally, number four, you're going to apply your PhD, okay? Your pig-headed determination. You've got to stick with the discipline of sticking to your schedule. Again, so many times people will put together a schedule, and then when I meet with him, okay, how'd it go? Well, Clay, I had this come up, and I had that come up, and I just wasn't able to do it. It's like, you're killing yourself. Again, because of that lack of determination, because of that lack of discipline, we allow other things to get in place. And I spend a lot of time with clients each week. I have one client that we're still working on this, but I mean, he comes into meetings, and in our weekly coaching meeting, this is where we need to be. But his phone is buzzing all during the meeting. And 5, 6, 7 times during the meeting, he's picking up the phone. Okay, be sure to do this. Yeah, well, I guess you need to do this. And he's fulfilling this role right here when we are trying to work on the business. He's still stuck in the business. So this week, we're going to have a little come to Jesus on that. All right, talk about how we have got to be able to focus on the business and not get pulled down into the business. Now, I know that his words are going to be, but Clay, you don't understand. It's got to be done. That's right, it's got to be done. But if you're the only one that can do it, then our time together in our coaching sessions is not going to be as fruitful. You've got to develop a system so you can break away for an hour and not have to work in your business so that we can focus up here. So hopefully this makes sense. We have to block out this time, or else everything that we talk about from here on, okay, not only in this session, but in sessions to come, everything that we're talking about with designing systems, you'll come back with the excuse of, Clay, I just haven't had time. I haven't had time. So again, the question for you each week, when are you going to spend specific time doing the work in your company? If you are also in a position of having to be a daily manager, run around, put out fires, when are you going to do that each day? Up here, as a VP or the manager that's going to be in charge of designing systems, when are you going to do that each week? We have to have those times blocked out, or else everything that we're talking about here is just going to go down the drain, because the tyranny of the urgent. If you are a growing business, there is constantly going to be more things to do. So we have to begin to organize our time. Okay? So as we begin to take a look at the activity, the tasks that have to go on every single day, first of all, as we are, first steps here, the idea that we need to keep in mind. Our first steps here is that we need to simply identify the work that has to go on. What are all of the tasks? You know, I have so many people that I work with that they are carrying all of this stuff, all of the things that they have to do, they're carrying it around in their head. And unfortunately, things are beginning to slip through the cracks. Things are dropping through and they're not getting it done. People are dropping the ball because they've got too much on their mind. And also, have you found this, that when things get heavy on your mind, all of a sudden it gets into your emotions as well? And now you're not only carrying them in your head, but you're also carrying this heavy heart around. You just got this emotional thing going. It always seems like, oh, there's so much. And before long, things just get piled on top of your shoulders. And now not only are you heavy at work, but now you're taking your work home with you in your head. You're taking your work home with you in your heart. So now that you're at home, when you should be with your spouse, you should be with family, you should be in this fun time, enjoying your life with friends and so on, you're carrying around this mental heaviness, this emotional heaviness, because you're constantly worried and anxious about what's going on in your company, because we haven't identified. We've got to write down all of those activities. Second thing, now, is this going to end up with a long list? Yes, it is. And is that list ever just going to go away? No, it's not. The list is constantly going to be there. But the wonderful thing about getting it out of your head is it's no longer in your head, it's out on paper, so you don't have to think about it. And you can begin to knock those things off. Knock, knock, knock. Check, check, check. And again, there's going to be new things coming onto that list, but you are constantly completing and adding, completing and adding. Once we have identified the work, here's a key thing is, how are we going to verify the work? This is huge. How are we going to verify if I delegate? How am I going to verify that somebody actually did it? It's very important. Again, this takes time as a manager to organize this. But once it is organized, you guys, it will set you free. And isn't that what we want? To live a life of freedom? Isn't that our desire with the jobs that we have, with the businesses that we have started? Is to get us to a place of freedom, time freedom, financial freedom. But if we don't have a way to verify that these jobs got done, if we don't have a way to quickly verify that the work got done, then we're delegating, but now I've got to run around and make sure everybody did it. I've got to go look over this person's shoulder. I've got to go out to the job site. I've got to go do things, spend my time to verify. And that's just not the best way. It's not the best use of your time running around making sure that everybody did what you told them to do. There has to be a way that they have been able to communicate with you to quickly verify. This is the whole thing from Ronald Reagan. Remember, trust but verify. So there has to be a way for them to verify the work got done. And then finally, number 3 here is, as you identify the work and now you have the way to verify the work, now we want to systemize the work. So we move from identify to verify to systemize, okay? That's the way that we're going to be moving through here. And this is going to go on. It's going to be a consistent task or a consistent responsibility that you have because of success, because you're growing, because you're moving up the ladder. So at this level here, this is the person, this is the level of responsibility that's going to be doing everything that we're talking about here. If you are trapped in the work, I promise, you won't have time to do this, okay? You just won't. You have to get up here into this box. You have to get up into this mindset. And how are we going to do that? By simply blocking out specific time each week for you to work on your company so you don't get trapped in your company. So again, the idea here is you have to build the company so you can grow the company. If you're not careful, you'll just produce a job. Again, many entrepreneurs get trapped in this spot. We provide a job for ourselves. We don't actually build a company. Building a company is all about designing systems. So what I want to talk about next is actually how do we get into this thing? How do we actually design the systems? And I want to walk you through the 5 steps of designing a system. So let's move into that next, okay? Having these systems in place is going to be the difference between being kind of growing and being under pressure all the time and freaking and panicking, or actually being able to grow and feeling like you are in control. Feeling like you were actually leading your company. I love this. Again, I get the idea, and you may have been in this spot before, where you may have like 1 or 2 other employees with you, or 1 or 2 other people in your department or in your division at your company. And there's so many things that go on. There's so many things that need to get done. And our very first thought is, well, we need to hire a new person. We need to get somebody else. I need an assistant, okay? Again, I get this all the time. I remember even feeling this all the time. But the idea here is because we haven't organized the work, identified and organized the work, if you go out and get another human and bring them into the chaos, it's not going to be any better at all. It's just going to be another person to worry about, another person that's running around that you are going to have to put out fires with. And it's going to drive you crazy. You're going to be frustrated with that person, because they're not taking the stuff off of your plate that you wanted them to take off, because you haven't identified, verified, and systemized, okay? So let's see here. Increasing sales. This is something that with each of the clients that I work with, this is something that we hit very early on in the coaching process, is getting increased sales, increasing the amount of activity. But you guys all know that as we increase sales, what that's going to do, it's going to increase the amount of work. It's going to increase the amount of workload that has to go on. And so many times I get from managers that haven't systemized yet is when we begin to increase their sales, very quickly they go, okay, Clay, we need to slow down on the sales thing because I don't have enough time to fulfill all the work. Again, they're trapped in this spot of they're the ones doing the work. And so when we increase sales, they just run out of time because they are spending way too much time down here rather than being up here as a leader in their department, a leader in their company, a leader in their entire business that they have started. So you guys, it's efficiency that we are looking for. Again, if we increase sales, what that will do is increase the amount of work that has to get done. This increased amount of work is going to put pressure on your systems. And if you don't have systems, then the pressure falls directly on your shoulders. And you're going to begin to work more hours. Your 60-hour week is going to turn into an 80-hour week. Okay? Again, just hypothetically. All right? And then all of a sudden the work begins to get into your relationships. It begins to get into your marriage. All of a sudden your spouse and your children begin to wonder where you are because the increased work has created pressure on your systems, and because you don't have good systems in place, all of the pressure comes down on you. And so now even when you're at home, your brain and your heart are at work. Guys, this is so real. It happens all the time. So what we have to do is increase efficiency before we increase the number of people. Again, so many times we think that the answer is, well, we just need to get more people. And that may be a part of the solution. But if we don't increase efficiency first, then what's going to happen is new people will simply come into the chaos. So we have to organize efficiency here, and that's going to come through the form of designing systems. So let's talk about our 5 steps to design systems in your company. And you're going to be using these steps all the time in multiple different areas, in multiple different tasks that are going on throughout your company. We're going to use these same 5 steps. And the wonderful thing here is, as this level here, as this VP or this person at this level of management, the senior manager in your company, this is the person that's going to design the system so that we can then delegate it to this person who is going to implement the system on a daily basis, so that this person down here can actually get the work done. All right? So again, if you're finding yourself in all of these roles, then the first role that we want to begin getting rid of is this role down here at the very bottom that has you actually doing the work. Okay? Where the work is actually getting done for the client, for the customer, for the patients, or whomever it may be. We have to get these systemized down here so work is done the exact way that we want it to get done. So let's talk about how we are going to fix it and how we are going to do this. Remember, big question of when are you going to do this? We have to have a time block to get it done. So here we go. Step number 1 on designing a system. Design a system. Step number 1 is we have to identify the task that we want to delegate. Down here, again, if you're like me, there are a lot of things that need to go on a daily basis for my clients, on a daily basis for marketing, on a daily basis for sales, on a daily basis for accounting and bookkeeping and office management. There's so many things that need to go on. So what I want to do, first of all, is identify one. Just start with one. Don't try to do too much. Just start with one task that needs to be done on a daily basis at the worker level of your company. Start with one of the things that maybe you don't want to do anymore. You want to delegate it to somebody else. Identify that task. What is it going to be? For instance, in our example here, I want to take, okay, I don't want to be responsible anymore for hiring people. It's just one example that I want to use. Let's say that I don't want to be in charge of hiring people anymore. But I want to delegate that to somebody else. But man, this is my company. I can't just turn hiring over to anybody. I have to be the one that selects all of the jewels that will come into my company, because if I'm not involved with it, then it won't get done right and we'll end up having a bunch of idiots running around. That's not true, okay? All we have to do is get inside your head and begin to pull out of your head all the things that you would do to ensure that you get good people, okay? So first of all, what we're gonna do is identify the task. Again, just lost the lid there. Choose one, don't try to choose too many at a time, just take one at a time. And I would say choose a task that you, choose a task that you do that you know is not the best use of your time. One of these things for me is spending time hiring people is not going to be the best use of my time. I can delegate that task to somebody else. And I know that if I design the right system right here, I know that other people can do it as well as me, or they can do it at least like 80-85% as well. And that's good enough. So I want to make sure that I identify what that task is. So again, the one that we're going to use is hiring people into our company. The next step that we're going to do is simply create a checklist.